Hi everybody, welcome back to Reading with Leon. I have a few more books I want to read right today, and this is one of my favorites when I was a little kid, called Miss Nelson is Missing by Harry Allard and James Marshall. It says, if all teachers looked as goofy as Mr. Marshall makes these two, the earth would never again have a truancy problem. That was by the New York Times. Kids in room 207 were misbehaving again. Spitballs stuck to the ceiling. Paper planes whizzed through the air. They were the worst behaved class in the whole school. Now settle down, said Miss Nelson in her sweet voice. The class would not settle down. They whispered and giggled, hee 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 hee. They squirmed and made faces, blah. They were even rude during story hour. How can you be rude during story hour? It's reading books. That's fun. And they always refused to do their lessons. Something will have to be done, said Miss Nelson. The next morning, Miss Nelson did not come to school. Wow, yelled the kids, now we can really act up. They began to make more spitballs and paper planes. Today, let's just be terrible, they said. Not so fast, whispered an unpleasant voice. What's going on? Who is it? A woman in an ugly black dress stood before them. I am your new teacher, Miss Viola Swamp. And she rapped the desk with her ruler. Where is Miss Nelson? Asked the kids. Never mind that, snapped Miss Swamp. Open those arithmetic books. Miss Nelson's kids did as they were told. Would that teacher scare you? They could see that Miss Swamp was a real witch. She meant business. Right away, she put them to work. She loaded them down with homework. Who likes doing homework? We will have no story hour today, said Miss Swamp. Keep your mouth shut, said Miss Swamp. Sit perfectly still, said Miss Swamp. And if you misbehave, you'll be sorry, said Miss Swamp. The kids in room 207 had never worked so hard. Days went by and there was no sign of Miss Nelson. The kids missed Miss Nelson. Maybe we should try to find her, they said. Some of them went to the police. Detective McSmog was assigned to the case. He listened to their story. He scratched his chin. He said. I think Miss Nelson is missing. Detective McSmog would not be much help. They gotta find her. Other kids went to Miss Nelson's house. The shades were tightly drawn, and no one answered the door. In fact, the only person they did see was the wicked Miss Viola Swamp coming up the street. If she sees us, she'll give us more homework. They got away just in time. Maybe something terrible happened to Miss Nelson. Maybe she was gobbled up by a shark, said one of the kids. But that didn't seem very likely. Sign says sharks, very unpleasant. Maybe Miss Nelson went to Mars, said another kid. But that didn't seem very likely either. Do you think your teacher went to Mars when they're missing? I know, exclaimed one know-it-all. Maybe Miss Nelson's car was carried off by a swarm of angry butterflies. But that was the least likely of all. It is kind of pretty, but I don't know if I'd want my car carried away by butterflies. That'd be scary. The kids in room 207 became very discouraged. It seemed that Miss Nelson was never coming back, and they would be stuck with Miss Viola's swamp forever. They heard footsteps coming down the hall. Here comes the witch, they whispered. Hello, children, someone said in a sweet voice. On their board it says, the capital of England is London. The capital of Sweden is Stockholm. The capital of Japan is Tokyo. The capital of Italy is Rome. The capital of Greece is Athens. The capital of China is Peking. The capital of Denmark is, and I can't read it, it's covered by a head. But if you guys know the capital of Denmark, you can put it in the comments. Guess who was back? It was Miss Nelson. Did you miss me, she asked. We certainly did, cried all the kids. Where were you? That's my little secret, said Miss Nelson. How about story hour? Oh, yes, cried the kids. Miss Nelson noticed that during story hour, no one was rude or silly. What brought about this lovely change, she asked. That's our little secret, said the kids. Back home, Miss Nelson took off her coat and hung it in the closet right next to the ugly black dress. When it was time for bed, she sang a little song. I'll never tell, she said to herself with a smile. That was a funny trick. P.S. Detective McSmog is working on a new case. He is now looking for Miss Viola Swamp. The end. That was a funny book. I loved it. What do you guys think? Would you ever play a trick like that if you were a teacher? Let me know that in the comments and have a great day. Bye.